access changes everything. It's one thing to have talent, it's another to get the chance to use it. Today on Thunder Thoughts, we're talking about what happens when somebody gets access and decides to hold the door open for the next brother coming behind them. My guest today is Captain Lee Jackson. He's one of the few Black riverboat captains in America. What started as an unexpected opportunity, a job most people would have passed over, became the foundation for generational wealth and ownership. From life on the river to part ownership in the Four Seasons Hotel to a medical marijuana license, Captain Jackson's story proves that when you stop judging opportunity by how it looks, it might just become the blessing that changes your life. But what makes his story special isn't just what he built, it's who he's bringing with him. He's creating real pathways for young Black men to enter maritime, to change their future, and to redefine what access looks like for the next generation. This is Access and Anchors, the unlikely journey of Captain Lee Jackson. Captain, thank you for joining us on Thunder Thoughts, a project of Sons of Thunder. It's a pleasure to have you with us here today.
Thank you. It's also my pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. You know, as we talk about this whole conversation of access and really tell the stories of folks that have been able to use access and maximize it, it's often said it's not how you start, but how you finish. Yeah. But that beginning is a foundation. Tell us a little bit about Lee Jackson, who Lee Jackson is, and your start, and really how you got to where you got today.
Oh man, listen. You know, it's strange because I grew up in a small town, country town, Franklin, Louisiana, where there were sugarcane fields on both sides.
That's right.
I'll never forget, it was in my senior year of high school. I was getting out of high school early at noon, and of course, as a requirement, you had to work afterwards. Mm-hmm. So I was working in a restaurant and just enjoying it. I knew I wanted to go to college, didn't know how I was going to pay for it, right? And so a buddy of mine just basically said, "Hey, man, you ever thought about going offshore?" I said, "Offshore? Man, my mama don't want me near any water. I can't do that." And so he said, "Man, you ought to try it." It's, you know, and so the summer of '88, I went on the back deck of a boat and worked. And every summer, for some reason, life was just calling me.
Yeah.
Didn't realize it, but I enjoyed it. And so, and then it just progressed from that point on.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting because I think that was the start of an access point. There's so much more we'll get into your story of, but what seemed like just temporary means to an end was really putting you somewhere near your calling. And I think for a lot of young men, you may look at an opportunity may not look like success or the end all be all, but it really is the gateway. Talk about that a little bit because, you know, you just a deckhand, whatever it is out there. And then, it's the beginning. It's the start.
Well, and I will tell you, entering in the maritime industry back then, you were seen as the lowest person on the totem pole. A deckhand it was. I was called names I didn't know what they were, right?
Yeah.
But because as an industry, there wasn't a lot of Blacks in it.
Sure.
And so, but again, I listened to the voice and I believed in myself and I pushed past some of that. And so eventually it morphed into, as you said a second ago, a calling, but more or less it morphed into a career, a path. And it drove a hunger inside of me to the fact that I just couldn't give up.
Yeah.
And, you know, watching myself grow every summer and saying to myself, if I ever get at a point in life where I'm blessed to own my own company, I'm going to treat people better than this.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, and I think that's interesting in that you said you went out there summer after summer and built this hunger in you. Talk about a little bit about how, I guess, the opposition really developed the opportunity for you, because you may have said, all right, I'm gonna just go off to college once I finish this, and then you're like, well, no, if you calling me that, if I'm that, I'm gonna stay out here until I figure this out.
Yeah. It was strange because at that particular time in the industry, most of the officers were white, and you had deckhands that were white and black, and you were called names, but every time it happens, there was something different that triggered within me. I mean, I would be on the vessel reading books. You know, I would be doing these things that was really strange to them, right?
Yeah.
But the opposition really drove me, and to this very day, I thank them. I really, because they played a role.
Wow.
They played a role. So I'm thankful for
So
it.
you thank your opposition because it pushed you.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
And I think for, some of the young men out there have to realize, especially even some of the climate that we're in our country right now, is that access doesn't equal ease. And there's a piece of this that is going to require some internal fortitude and a mental wherewithal to be able to make that access point all that it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, society is going to say one thing.
Yeah.
But it's about what you believe inside of yourself.
Right.
And that little voice, it's the voice of God for me. I don't know about many.
Yeah.
But I will speak from my experience, and that is humility is that thing where society wants you to step up and make a comment or a statement on something that triggers or goes into a different path. But for me, it's the time where I'm still.
Yeah. So walk us a little bit more in the journey. Country boy from Franklin.
Yeah.
Take a summer job, and we were together recently, and you told a part of your story that just, made something leap inside of me about access. Walk us into that journey. I think you end up on a casino boat.
Yeah. So fast forward, I really and truly, I kept moving on, kept growing. And then eventually I achieved my captain's license. I went off and I did studies at New York Maritime to really prepare myself for whatever life had for me. And so eventually I came inside and I began working on a casino boat. Now, I'm not going to give the name of the casino boat, but I will tell you there was a point in time on that vessel where the owner of the asset said, the vessel said, there would never be a black guy in a white shirt here.
Wow.
Well,
white shirt being the captain.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the word got back to me. And so, but, life is strange again.
Yeah.
So one of the captains went to the doctor, and basically the physician told him, you need heart surgery right now.
Wow.
And guess who was there? Waiting, ready. And it was either he shut the door or he give me a chance.
Yeah.
And he gave me that chance, right? Now, that's the same guy that said I couldn't be here. Yeah. And so that's life. That's life telling me something.
Yeah.
And so I'm continuing to believe in that story that's being told. And it was about 2 a.m. one night, early morning, where one guy, he walks up to the bridge of the casino vessel, because at that time we sailed. And so I'll never forget when I saw the guy coming up the stairs, I'm like, oh, come on, the deckhands did not chain there's this petition where you can't come up to where my office was, where I actually drove the boat. And I'm saying to myself, they done let this drunk guy come up here, and now I'm going to have to push him back down,
right.
And so, but the guy came up, old guy, he came up and he says, Captain, I have a bigger vessel than this one. And my response to him was, this is a pretty big boat. And that guy was a Noble pilot.
Wow.
That guy was a white guy from Bay Minette, Alabama. I want to be clear who he was. Yeah. And again, for no reason other than I believe in divine intervention, he took a liking to me.
Yeah.
As dark complexion as I am, as totally different as he is, society said that the two of us could not be friends.
Sure.
And so he invited my family to his family's outings. He took a liking to me. We walked into rooms, and he would call me to ride a ship with him every time. We would walk into a room, and people would be like, "What is this? What is going on?"
Right.
And so, and then, look, him and I had some frank conversations, and I overheard him say some things that really and truly didn't mirror the individual that I knew would give the shirt off his back to me. And like River Pilots, if you know, it's a private organization, but you have to be elected in by the members, and it's based on the workload. And I'll never forget, and this was Catapult, that was 2001.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget Herschel Taylor. Captain Herschel Taylor was on the phone with someone of his age, his background, his all that, and he was a pilot. Right. And he says, "Billy, I got a clean-cut colored boy, and I really need you to give him consideration."
Yeah.
Now, Josh, it was in that moment that either I take the road that society says I take, or I take the road that I believed in the man. And so it was in that moment I believed in the man.
Sure.
And I was fortunate enough to be elected into the pilots.
Wow.
And with an overwhelming vote count, because that man stood up for me.
And I think at that time you were only the third black.
I was the third black in the state at the time,
and only the seventh in the nation.
That is correct.
If you're listening out there, third black in the state, seventh in the country, but of 1,200. Of an industry that generates how much a year?
I'll say this: River Pilots do well. It's documented. In some states, they make over $1 million, and so in Louisiana, we're 700,000 to 800,000.
Wow. Yeah. But one thing that I think is critical here is I've always believed, and I've been taught, that preparation and opportunity equals destiny.
Yeah.
While the opportunity presented itself through divine intervention of someone getting sick. What we perceived as a drunk man walking up some stairs. Mm-hmm. If Lee Jackson wasn't prepared when that opportunity came, talk to that young man out there. If you had not gone to get the educational background, to have the experience, to read that book while you're being a deckhand, if you had not done what you needed to do to prepare, to have Lee ready for when opportunity and time presented itself, when God showed up, then it would have just been something squandered.
Well, what I would say to the young man, and I often I give talks to young kids, sometimes to individuals that are in a bad place.
Yeah.
And I said, and this is real talk. You can't win if you don't play.
Yeah.
You can't be prepared. You can't be a part of the conversation if you're not prepared.
That's right.
So regardless, it's always be ready. It's always be ready. Look, I often tell young kids this all the time. I said, listen, you are born into an environment. You have zero control about it. So the book begins to read this way, right?
Yep.
The end in the middle is you.
Mm-hmm.
You have an opportunity to write your story. You are better than your environment. Your environment does not dictate who you are.
That's right.
Here it is. I'm a country boy.
Yeah.
I mean, we had field rats running from out, there was sugar cane being burned. But here I am today. Here I am today because I did what my mom said.
Yeah.
To some degree. But I was a respectful young man. You understand me? I was poor. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
I was poor. Didn't want for nothing. Didn't realize I was poor.
Yep.
And the lady down the street had full authorization to bust my behind if I did something wrong. You understand me? That was the life I grew up in.
Right.
And so, but I knew there was something better for me. Mm-hmm. I knew it was because I felt it. Mm-hmm. And throughout my career, doors just open. Doors continue to open. And so I had to be ready for whatever God had for me.
Yeah.
And so that's what I tell young kids today. Prepare.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself for whatever life is going to bring to you, but always be ready.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So Lee Jackson, rolling on the river. Talk to us about just day in the life of being a river pilot. I think a lot of our folks, we cross the Mississippi, we might go sit on the levee and eat some crawfish, but to understand what's really happening on that mighty Mississippi, talk to us about that. What is the day in the life of a river pilot?
So it starts with a phone call. Dispatch will call you. You're dispatched to a particular ship. From my organization, you can be from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. You're called out to go navigate an ocean-going vessel. These vessels are coming in from China, Egypt, wherever you can think, and they're coming in to either load goods or bring goods, load goods or bring goods in. And what a river pilot does, he gets on a little small boat, and that boat brings him alongside this massive ship. The ship it's 2 to 3 football fields long, right? And it's about the size of the Empire State Building. And you basically climb up along the side, and you are the local knowledge for the state of Louisiana.
Wow.
You don't touch anything. You basically coordinate it. 95% of the ships that come into port are foreign. So there's a language barrier. There's tremendous things that happen there. So you're the eyes and the ears for the state of Louisiana. And this is why it's a highly glorified position, is because if the river shuts down, we're talking about billions of dollars a day that comes to a halt. 1 in 5 jobs are maritime related. And so that pilot has to navigate that ship from point A to point B safely. And think about it, Josh, think about it. I mean, a ship that is full of, I'm going to call it raw Venezuelan crude. When you talk about $100 million in cargo,
right?
If it spills, we have a tragedy.
Yeah. Well, I think that the risk of it, right?
That is.
In my time when I was with the Department of Transportation and got to be a lawyer on some of these, I remember we had the Sunshine River Bridge hit, right? That's when I learned the difference between a lesion and a collision, right?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
And, I think the risk of that, right, is, what happens if that cargo goes down?
Yeah.
What happens if you hit a bridge? Now hundreds of thousands of travelers can't get to where they need to go. There's chaos on the river. To put all that on your shoulders, and then you're only the third black. Talk about, was there ever a moment of inferiority complex, or extra pressure that I've got to make sure I deliver? How did you navigate that of, yes, I got to do the X's and O's of the job, but I feel like there's extra pressure looming on me out here on this river?
Yeah. So I'll give just a little insight on and something I failed to mention. You all may recall the Dolly incident that happened in Baltimore. That ship lost power. It had an American pilot on it, and it prevented that incident from being worse than what it was.
Yeah.
But people lost their lives.
Yeah.
Commerce was shut down. This is why it's so important to have competent pilots on board these assets. Now, for me coming in, again, folks are not accustomed to seeing someone like me be a pilot. So, when you walk up to the dock, they said, "What are you?" "I'm the pilot." "You the pilot?" "Yes, I am the pilot. I'm the one." And man, I've never seen a black river pilot before.
Yeah.
And and it comes with a level of responsibility. It really does. But then there's also the negative things that come with it, and not within the organization, but folks outside on the river. They'll see you. They again, you're being hired because someone's making them do it, not because you're qualified. Questioning some of the things you're going to do, but even that's a driver for me. It drove me to perfection to make sure that I did it right. So it was great. It was great to be that third and that seventh in the nation, but I knew what I did was extremely dependent upon the folks that were going to come behind me.
Yeah. Talk about the temperament. You talked about when that gentleman from Bay Minette, right, said that I got a good, clean-cut colored boy. You talked about folks saying you're only there because they were forced to do it.
Yeah.
Moments where you could have popped off.
Yeah.
Talk about how much temperament and your own commitment to who you were in character kept you, right? When you had moments where you probably could have blew it prematurely.
Yeah. You know, that's a society thing, I do believe, because I do owe a lot of my temperament and my belief set is coming from a place where my mom, you know, she worked hard, right? And so when I would get in trouble in school, you know, she wouldn't come to the school and say, my son did not do.
Yeah.
She would say, what did he do?
Yeah.
You know, that's the place in which I came from.
Yep.
And so the only thing I've ever known, my friend, is to humble myself and never allow society to drive my decision making. My grandfather would always tell me, you have two ears and one mouth. It's for a reason.
That's right.
It's for a reason. Yeah. So don't be popping off simply because you feel like your feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
My mom would tell us, slow to speak, slow to anger. And so you have to make sure you're listening. But that temperament piece, I see it all in your story. Of just moments where you could have been tempted to lose it, right? But talk about that river being the risk, the liability, the pressure. What did it teach you about patience, discipline, that were able to be transferable to really who you are as a man?
Well, keep in mind, Mother Nature runs the river. No one else does.
That's right.
If you ever think you can beat her, she's going to win every time. And so patience is one of those things that you have to have. I will tell you that as a pilot, one of our most dangerous moves is climbing up alongside that ship. There are more instances where a pilot falls off a ladder and he's never recovered. He or she is never recovered. So the risk of you going to work is kissing your wife and telling them, I love you. And because there is a great chance that if that Chinese crew did not lock down that ladder properly, if that ladder is old and decrepit, and the minute you're climbing up alongside and it breaks and you fall in the river.
Wow.
This is what happens daily for pilots.
Wow.
And that is the thing why. It's just not the cargo that's moving in that vessel. It's also the life. You know, we make decisions sometimes where when something happens on the river, sometimes you have to make a split decision as to whether or not you want to bend some iron or you want to kill some people.
Wow.
And so it's like that. It's like that daily. And so this is why the skill set is what it is. This is why it's so much emphasis placed on it. And keep in mind, there are other countries out there where we've had foreign nationals come in on ships. They jump off the ships.
Wow.
Their intent. During Katrina, we had armed National Guards basically escorting us onto the vessels because we have big oil tankers, chemical tankers. We have some very important docks alongside the Mississippi River.
Right.
It's not known to many, but we have a DOE dock along our river, which is where our crude reserve is.
Wow.
Here.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to do wrong, you know, they could use that ship as an option. And so pilots are extremely important to that process.
Wow. So Lee Jackson, far more than a pilot. Let's talk about how you turn access to ownership, working to wealth. So you're a pilot. This is around 2001.
That's right.
Now you have Jackson Offshore. Talk to us about starting your own marine company.
Yeah. So it was a vision. It was a vision early on. I said, and I think I mentioned that, if I've ever be in a place of access and opportunity, I'm going to make sure. I'm going to make sure I treat people better than just a number.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure they understand that they're important.
That's right.
So in 2000, now mind you, I always had the vision of owning my own vessels. But of course, I didn't have the income. I tried multiple times. I was turned down. But the minute I got into pilots in 2005, I leveraged everything I had.
Wow.
That's the beliefs, the mindset of believing in yourself.
Yeah.
And I went to a bank in New Orleans. I'm not going to call their name, but I will tell you, just know that they wanted me to guarantee things I did not have, like grandchildren. But that was the system. Yeah. If you believe in what you feel is your next move or your journey, they want you to go all in. So I leveraged everything I had, and I bought. It was a $3 million loan at the time, and this was in 2005. I bought an old vessel. I worked it on the bayou, working through the bayou boys, and needless to say, I chipped my teeth. I got through that process, but it taught me a lot of things too.
Sure,
it taught me a lot of things because one, it was told, I'm not going to hire your boat unless they make me hire it. Yeah. These are the things that I went through because once again, they weren't accustomed to seeing someone like me.
Sure. So talk to especially the young men out there that an access point is good. A job is good. We've already talked about it. It's well documented. A pilot can make $700,000-$800,000 a year here in Louisiana. That puts you well into the 1% of earners in this country, right? But at some point, you realize that this was more than a paycheck; it was a pathway.
Yeah.
The entrepreneurship. Talk to us about how you didn't allow yourself to get comfortable. It's a nice bag, but there's a bigger bag. Yeah. Talk to us about that because I think young men need to understand that there's levels to this, and how do you really take it up and ratchet it up to the next level? Yeah.
So what's interesting about that? There's this theme here that I keep saying it is there was a plan.
Yeah.
You have to listen. You just have to listen to what is being told to you, right? Get to a quiet place and listen. Yeah. So when I leveraged everything I had and I bought this vessel, I worked it for a few years. I ended up selling that boat, making more money. And I parlayed it into another boat. Life works. Doing well, leveraged it up. Then an oil spill happens. Never missed a payment. But of course, the banks are beginning to get skittish on your credit because you're triggering things. Money in the bank and everything. I said, Lord, what are you telling me? Yeah. What are you telling me? Well, lo and behold, just be patient.
Yeah.
A group from overseas comes in, purchase the boat from me, I make even more money from it.
Yeah.
And I'm able to parlay that into 2 vessels.
Wow.
And the process just kept, doors just continued to open. And opportunity, when I say was unique for me because I didn't go looking for it.
Yeah.
It came looking for me.
Right.
But I believe that it was the early things that I did that there's a running joke in the industry that Lee's the most respectful person in this business, right? Because I want people to treat me like that.
That's right.
I do not believe, I don't care what someone tells me about an individual. I'm going to base it on my experience.
That's right.
And so I've always done right by people. And so I'll give you a great example. I'm at home on a Saturday, and I get a phone call from someone. And the phone call says, Lee, some folks are looking for you. I said, well, listen, I don't have any warrants out or anything. So we laughed about it. But she says, "Oh, stop kidding, stop joking. I'm serious. It's some real estate deal they're trying to put together." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, I'll listen." And lo and behold, the next day, I get on the phone. And my wife and I, we have this thing. When I pull up in the driveway, once I walk through the door, the phone has to go down, right?
Right.
So I'm in my driveway for 30 minutes listening to someone tell us about a Four Seasons hotel they would like to bring to New Orleans.
Wow.
And so, and I didn't know any of these people, any of them. The reason they said they chose me is because of my reputation, and they didn't want, now mind you, they were looking for someone black to participate in the process, but they did not want someone who was flamboyant and who was your traditional folks. They wanted someone who had a reputation of being honest and fair that they could partner with.
Yeah.
And so, listen, it even went to the point of I turned them down.
Wow.
Because I was building boats at the time. And at the time, dude, I had a $160 million construction contract going.
Wow.
I had to stay laser focused on that. And so I turned them down. This is a true story. I hit this. I always draft emails.
I want the listeners to understand. Lee Jackson said he turned the Four Seasons down.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And it was some principles in. And so I drafted the email the night before, and like all things, big decisions, I kind of sit on them. I woke up in the morning around 4:30, which I usually get up around that time, and I hit the send button. And by 6:30, I had a response, "Can you talk?" And so I'm at home, so no, I can't talk.
Yeah.
So I said, "I'll give you 30. And I'm in my pajamas. I go outside so my wife doesn't see me on the phone. And that conversation lasted about an hour and a half.
Wow.
And when it was done, I agreed.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I'm so proud of that project. And it was
phenomenal property.
Yeah. Look, I think we have a 5-star city in New Orleans. We have the capability to have a 5-star. So why not have a 5-star hotel?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I did that.
So river pilot, entrepreneur, hotelier.
Yeah.
And now, as one of our friends, your partner says, you legally sell weed.
Yeah.
Some people in our community say you the weed man. So
Yeah.
So all of this, I think a lot of folks, you talk about the opportunities again, and I've been privileged enough to know some of the story, but these opportunities come find you, and it's the preparation to now, I think, you and your partner are the only black license holders in the state of Louisiana for medical marijuana.
So no, we're one of two.
One of two. Okay.
But we have the largest, and is the New Orleans area.
Yeah.
We have the largest. We have the two licenses in the New Orleans area. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And again, that one really took counsel from my pastor. Because I will tell you, I fight day in and day out for young black men to work.
Sure.
And I see it so often that jobs, they come in, they come apply for jobs. Even in my organization, when they realize they have to take a hair test, they never come back. I see the sacrifices that so many people are making based on what? Based on smoking marijuana? Listen, this industry, you can get a $65,000 a day job, labor job.
Wow.
All you have to do is pass a drug test. Yeah. And so for me, when that opportunity came, it took some soul searching, but I quickly pivoted to the good things behind medical marijuana. When you look at the testimony of mothers who have kids who have serious issues, and this is the only thing that helps them.
Right.
When you have the elderly who are going through multiple things and they use this as their way of medicating themselves.
Sure.
And it helps. Yeah, that one was a tough one. But look, hey, if I can change the stigma, And I think that's what my partner and I are trying to do.
Yeah.
You know, he's another very successful individual. I mean, look, if we can change the stigma around it
Yep.
and make sure that people who need the product, who really need it, are not going to the illicit market.
Sure.
Where that's more dangerous.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
and who can actually get the help that they need.
That's it.
And
That's it.
so that's really what it's about. But that was a tough one.
Well,
there.
you talk about young brothers, and clearly, just even there, you where your heart is, you have made a career out of wanting to help young brothers.
Yes, yes.
Talk to us about why that's important, but also why is it rare? Because I'm sure in your space, you run into brothers that have been successful all the time that aren't holding the door open, counting their money, relishing in their influence. But there's not a whole lot of giving back.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for individuals who doesn't understand what the true command is.
Yeah.
You are given something, and it's so important to give back. For me, someone helped me.
Yeah.
And who am I? Who am I to hold this to myself?
Sure.
I will tell you, it's the one thing. I have to leave it better than I found it. I just have to, because that ensures that the next young black man behind me will absolutely understand that you're worthy of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Love that.
Those are the type of things that I will tell you, I will do whatever it takes. I really will, because it's so important to me. Because when you look into the eyes of kids who look in their environment, I'll give you a great story. Young black man, grew up, he's from New York, Jersey area. And he got into some trouble early, 15, 16 years old. And he literally spent some time in a not so desirable place, right? He met someone and they said, no, you need to, well, you ever thought about maritime school? And he said, no, I didn't. I get the phone call. I said, Lee, you got to meet this young man. He's fascinating. He really is smart.
Yeah.
His environment, remember we talked about that.
Right.
Single mom, hustling, doing whatever she needs to do to make sure her 2 sons are taken care of. I fly him down here. I meet him, and I literally become his sponsor.
Wow.
And I tell him, I said, you're going to do this. That young man graduated from New York Maritime.
Wow.
A degree in mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
And a third assistant in the engine room.
Wow.
He is now making $200,000 a year, 24 years old.
Wow.
24 years old.
In less than a decade, he goes from jail to $200,000.
Now he helps his mom.
Wow.
And his brother. And he's literally the story of the family.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And the only thing I tell anyone that I help, I tell them, you don't owe me anything.
Yeah.
I just ask that you remain humble and you remember to give back. That is all I asked of you.
Talk about, you said something that always makes me excited, because I talk about the difference between mentorship and sponsorship. You could have flown that young man down here and told him, son, do this, 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 and that. That's mentorship. But you stepped into it and said, now I'm going to put you in it, right? You gave him the chance to sink or swim. But that's costly. We've talked off camera before about when you stepped up to say, no, I need a young African-American male in that spot and not someone's child, relative, whatever. That costs you something every time you do that. Talk about the cost of giving access and the cost of opening the door and why it's a worthy cost for you.
I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna give my pastor, Pastor Love, a shout out, because he says, because I'm in the room.
Yeah.
I'm in the room where most cannot be. So while you're there, make a difference.
That's right.
And so the cost is big. The cost is huge. I will tell you, and not monetarily. I'm just saying the cost, just the way people feel and think of what you're doing. But it's so important for me. If you don't recognize the barriers and try to address them while you're helping folks, you're not giving them the tools to succeed.
Sure.
People can talk about wanting to help, but do you really want to do the dirty work?
Sure.
And so in those cases, you'll hear it. You'll hear it in the hallways.
Yeah.
Look, we've had some pretty contentious conversations even with the Four Seasons in its project. You know, when we were coming up, I did not want to provide work to the contractors. There were DBEs and things like that. I said, if this DBE can't leave this project and go compete in Atlanta for work, we're doing something wrong.
Yeah. That's right.
I don't want to hand out someone. In other words, you want to scale them up to fail?
They're not just here to be on the roster for a check.
No, that's right. Let's make sure that when they leave this project, they can compete in other cities.
Yeah.
That's making a difference.
Well, I think that's critical, especially where we are. Let's face it, the conversation about DEI and whether we should have these policies or not. But I think it's critical that the work you're doing is not just based upon because somebody shares your complexion. You're looking at their competency. You're looking at their character. But you're also not denying the fact that their complexion has sometimes kept them locked out.
Absolutely.
And so if they got the competency, if they got the character, and they've got the ability to have the fortitude, I'm going to try to eliminate that one barrier that historically has held them back. And I think that's always important in the conversation of that. There's some qualities and some qualifications I'm looking for beyond we're both brown or both black.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, and here's the other thing. Sometimes we are our worst enemy.
Sure.
Right? If someone dangles a carrot, it's for you to bite on it.
Sure.
Right? If someone tells you you're a sheetrock guy and I have 30 floors of sheetrock and I'm going to give you 20, don't be no fool.
Yeah.
You can only handle 10.
That's right.
Let's be honest with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Let's manage within our means.
Yeah.
We did some things, man, where look, and I'm so proud of that project. We did things most small companies are mom and pops.
Yeah.
So how can I turn over your receivables quickly?
Yeah.
How can we leverage to make sure you get paid?
Absolutely.
It's about creating an opportunity for the win.
Absolutely. Look, you talked about legacy. We're rounding third base. We're headed home. But as you look at legacy, what do you want Lee Jackson's name to mean when it's all said and done? If you at the eulogy or what's on the tombstone, what is that legacy that you want Lee Jackson's name to stand for?
Oh, that's such a good one. I'll say this. I, as an individual, I probably want this on my tomb. And that is Luke 12:48.
Wow.
And it's a parable, but it speaks to whom much is given, much is required. Right. It's what you do with the little, right? And so that for me is how I want to live my life and how I want to be known, because people often tell me, they would say, tell me about your success. And I'll be honest, the way I rate success is not anything. It's not anything that I've seen just yet. Because for me, it's generational.
Yeah.
That's something in our community we haven't done. So when people say, talk about my success, you know what I tell them? I said, well, the unfortunate thing is I won't be around if I'm successful.
Yep.
Because if my grandparents, if my grandchildren's grandchildren, my daughter's kid, it's a generational. If they say Papa Lee did this and left us this, well, then my work speaks for my success.
Absolutely. Captain, it's a phenomenal story.
Yeah.
Leadership, legacy, patience, perseverance. It's amazing, but there was an access point. In closing, what would you say to that young man as he's waiting on that break? You've talked about the plan. You've talked about the patience. But give us that final word.
So my final word to someone, I would say this. I would say, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know what God has in store for you. But do not push back.
Yeah.
Believe in what you're hearing.
Yeah.
And remember, it could be the strangest person that has been put on this earth to bless you.
Wow. Wow. All right. Before we go, we're going to have a little fun.
Sure.
We want to do called the Thunder Round. So
wow.
Just real quick hits, quick answers. What's on Lee Jackson's playlist?
Oh, how am I feeling? Funkadelics.
I felt you bumping when you drove up,
No, you did. I like Bootsy Collins. I'm a big Bootsy Collins fan. I like to work out on Rick Ross.
Okay.
All
right.
Yeah.
All right. Best advice you ever received?
Believe in yourself.
Yeah. All right. What's a mistake that became a blessing?
I got turned down for a loan.
One word that describes your journey.
Long.
Wow. Mm-hmm. What's next?
For me, I think it's continuing, setting the legacy, having it cemented, and then philanthropy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's Thunder Thoughts. We appreciate you. Thank you for coming.
It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure.
Captain Jackson's story is a reminder. Access isn't charity, it's strategy. The goal isn't just to make it out, it's to make room. We need more bosses, influencers, and leaders of every color to be intentional about granting access. Because there are more Lee Jacksons out there, more stories waiting for a shot, more brilliance just waiting for belief. His journey proves you can come from the most unexpected places and still end up in rooms you never imagined. If somebody opens a door, and you got the discipline to walk through it. So if this conversation moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear that their opportunity may not look glamorous, but it could be the gateway to greatness. I'm Joshua Hollins. This is Thunder Thoughts, where access meets ambition and the conversation gets real.